Hi there, Lisa Rana here, and welcome to another Assemble This video. Today's card is all about bringing on the shine. I have shine from foil and shine from glitter paste and lots of little techniques just to add a little bit of dimension and interest to your cards today. I am using a sentiment from Grow and Grace, a Unity Stamp Company sentiment kit, and then pairing it with these brand new Thermoweb Decofoil toner card fronts that are also a collab with Unity Stamp Company. It's so fun to be able to foil using some special images designed by Unity Stamp Company. I've gathered all my supplies, so let's get started. I have just some distress inks I'm going to be using. This is Salty Ocean, and then Peacock Feathers, and the last one is Dusty Concord. I'm using a Waffle Flower Media Mat, I think it is. It's the mini one. I like this size. It fits perfectly on my desktop. And I'm just smushing on those three colors of the distress ink, and then I'll grab some water from my spray bottle and spritz it on the top. That just gets the ink moving and ready to be blended on top of my card front here. The card front has toner, and I'm adding my distressed ink before I add the foil. This seemed to work best for me. I'm using an acrylic sheet here to pick up the ink and then just smushing it onto the front of the panel here. This is just regular cardstock. It does warp a bit with lots of water, so I'm keeping the water kind of limited, and the way I'm doing that is using the acrylic sheet. This way not a lot of water is being added to that cardstock, so it doesn't warp as much. That's why I chose to use the smushing method using the acrylic sheet rather than watercoloring or using the cardstock to pick up the color, because I want to keep the water as limited as much as possible. So I did one layer here, and I'm just going to let that dry a little bit and then clean off my mat. And I wanted a little bit more of the peacock feather and the purple, which is Dusty Concord, so I added that back on my mat, and I'm just picking those colors up, and I'm focusing on three butterflies: the big butterfly and the little butterfly up towards the top, and then the little butterfly right below the big butterfly. Those are the images I'm going to be using on my card, so that's why I'm tending to add a little bit more of that purple and green to those butterflies. This is how it turned out after my ink smushing. It's very soft and lovely, and it's a great base color. You could totally use this for a background. I love it. I think it's beautiful. But I'm going to be adding a little bit more dimension to it. But first I want to dry it completely. So I'm using my heat tool and making sure that both sides get dry and stay kind of flat. I want these butterflies to really pop. So I'm going to blend on a little bit of the same colors of ink using a blending brush. Again, I'm focusing on those three butterflies because those are the ones I'm going to be using on my card. And I'm just blending on a little bit more of the purple, a little bit more of the green, and a little bit more of the blue. Just however it looks pleasing to my eye. There's no real formula for this. It's just whatever you like. I know you're probably thinking, why did she do the smushing on the ink and then now she's just blending on ink on top of that? Why didn't she just do one or the other? I like the layering of the colors. There is a difference between the watercolor look of the smushing and then the blending of the ink on top. It just creates a bit of dimension and vibrancy to the image that I particularly like. You could do one or the other, however it pleases you. So that's the fun of art. You can just do whatever makes you happy. So now I'm going to add some foil on top of it. The pretty side facing up, I just layered it over that toner card front. placed it inside the parchment paper that actually comes with the card front from Thermoweb, placed it in my laminator, and crossed my fingers that it all comes out well. I did make sure that everything was as flat as possible. Wrinkles do matter. They don't adhere to the toner on the card front as well if there's big wrinkles. And then I just kind of smushed it all out again and then peeled it away. And I just love that blue color against the background. It just turned out so perfectly. I just oohed and awed over it. And now you could use the whole thing as a background, but I really wanted to pop up some butterflies, so I'm cutting out the little butterfly at the top, just fussy cutting it. I eliminated the antennas. That was a fussy cut that I didn't feel that was important, but I am going over the little tail end at the bottom. And I'm using my scissors to just get a nice close cut to those butterflies. Next, I'm doing the big one, and then also there was a smaller one right below the big butterfly. So I have 3 butterflies that I cut from the background. There's lots of beautiful colored blended butterflies left in this image, and I'm going to throw that in my scraps, and I'll probably use it later on a card in just a different method, but I haven't figured that out yet. I don't want to waste it though because I really like it. Next, I have some glitter paste from Gina K and Thermoweb. I'm going to put that on some wax paper, and then I added a little bit of the Salty Ocean Distress ink so it matches the colors that are in my butterflies, and I'm just blending that with a palette knife. I got these little plastic palette knives from the dollar store and I really love them. So I'm mixing that up so it's nice and even, and so now I have a glitter paste that matches the distress ink to my butterfly just perfectly. This is a stencil from Unity Stamp Company. I love these little hearts. It's just the perfect background image to lots of different cards. So I'm tacking that down with some Thermoweb purple tape and then spackling on that glitter paste over the stencil. And you kind of want to be sparing with this, but you want to make sure each of those little hearts are filled in, but you want it to be a nice even level. You don't want it to be too thick in any area because it'll take much longer to dry, and then you kind of have an uneven surface on your card. So I'm trying to be careful to fill in all those little hearts, but try to keep it as smooth and even as possible. Thicker areas is not the end of the world, but that's my goal. And then since I had so much of that glitter paste left over, I'm going to add a little bit to my big butterfly just to make the wings sparkle a little bit more. I like the contrast of the glitter paste against the shine of the foil, and it just adds another level of dimension and texture that's really interesting to look at. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just using my palette knife to kind of paint on a little bit of that glitter paste. And the fun part is it's on wax paper, and I can just throw all of that away and there's absolutely no cleanup. I just have to clean off my palette knife. Fun! I just love all the sparkle that's happening in this card. So I peeled off the stencil, set that aside to dry completely, and then I'm just going to work on my sentiment here. I'm using a birthday sentiment from the Grow Upon Grace sentiment kit from Unity Stamp Company in a nice navy color. I'm using Gina K ink, and I think it's some sort of a denim, blue denim, I think it's called. I'm not sure. I'll link it below. And I just stamped that out and then trimmed it down and created a banner end that's on an angle. And then I have a heart cut out of vellum. Just use a standard die cut shape in the heart and die cut the vellum out. And then I glued that down on top of the stenciled hearts with some liquid glue. I just felt it would hold it better, and then tacked my sentiment down with some foam adhesive. To create a bit of dimension and to kind of feel like my butterflies are flying, I'm putting a little bit of foam adhesive just on the body of the butterfly and then lifting up the wings. The foam adhesive will tack it down, and then it just looks like it's fluttering and flying across the card by lifting up those wings. I love the dimension that this creates. It's interesting, it's solid, those butterflies aren't really going to go anywhere, but they're not flat against the card and boring. I like the way that the 3-dimension kind of looks. So I'm positioning those in the way that's kind of pleasing to my eye, in threes, like they're kind of floating across the sky. And the last thing is I want another level of shine and dimension, so I'm adding some of these raindrops. It's kind of a clear blue color, and that again just adds a little bit more interest, a little bit more movement, and something that I just like to look at. I was looking at this card and I felt like there was a lot of white space up in the corner, so I'm just going to round that corner and then use my scissors to kind of make it a clean edge. So here is the final card with that glitter paste background that matches perfectly to our blue butterflies, the vellum heart that kind of creates a bit of a contrast and background, and then the perfect sentiment for a birthday. I will have all the supplies linked in the description of this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you have any questions or sweet comment, post below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!